not really go out. My name is Sunghee Tark. For those of you who don't know me, I am the co-founder and CEO of Bean Voyage, a feminist nonprofit based in Costa Rica. And what we do generally is we work with smallholder women coffee producers to provide them with skills-based training and market access, so they're able to drive their own communities towards a sustainable future. And I've been doing that since 2016. And on the side, I also write for, coffee magazines. That's something that I do for hobby, I'll say. I guess that's about it. I don't know if I should also add that I'm also the SCA's lead scholar for 2019-21. I was also past RICO fellow. That's like the coffee relevant, like coffee related. But yeah, I don't know if that was good enough.
No, that's a lot. Yeah, no, I guess there's like, obviously, the way I got in contact with you was through Bean Voyage, which has it's been going for a few years now. And you set it up with, oh my God, I'm trying to find this person's name, Abhinav Kanal. Yes. And are they still based in Costa Rica at the moment?
Abby is actually based in Germany, Berlin right now.
Oh, no way!
So, we both are in the situation where we were visiting our family for a short time, and we obviously didn't think that the lockdown would be this long. So we are both trapped. But we have a team. We have an amazing team based in Costa Rica. So Fernanda and Adriana have been holding down the fort like very strongly, and we've been getting on a call with them like almost on a daily basis. And yesterday I was on a call until like 2 a.m. my time. So we're there all the time with them and kind of getting updated. But also like good thing is that all of our training has moved to a virtual space over WhatsApp. So that has definitely made our life a lot easier to be, working with our partners online. But yeah,
that's wild. So it wasn't intentional for you guys to be away for so long then.
Yeah, it was not really planned, and it's been wild. But I think now we've been doing it for about 5 months, and I'm finally getting a hang of it. I think finally.
I feel like everyone in the world is like
right,
sort of getting there. And for Bean Voyage, like, what made you want to start that, and especially in like Costa Rica? What made you want to start specifically in Costa Rica and with like this like specific section of Costa Rica out of curiosity?
So I went to Costa Rica for the first time in 2014. That was a third year in college, like university in the States, and one of my best friends in university was a Costa Rican girl, and we used to live together, and she invited me and Abby to help her out on a community project that she was leading for a small village that she was from. So what we helped out in the States with her was that we helped her fundraise to build a sustainable community center in La Ribera in Pérez Celedón, which is the southern part of Costa Rica. So we did a fundraising for about, I'll say 6 months. And then after that, we had like some leftover funding after donating the entire amount of money to the community that was going to pay for our flight. So we were like, why not just go and meet the people that was going to look after the building that we were, thanks to the support of our professor friends, were able to build. So we went, and it happened to be 2014 December. And as you may know, that's the busiest coffee harvest season in Costa Rica. So obviously, before going, I was studying economic development, and I had no idea how coffee was picked or harvested or processed before then. I just knew that I liked my coffee black, and that was literally everything I knew about coffee. So I went without knowing any knowledge about coffee.
Oh, little did you know.
Right, like I didn't even expect that I was going to interact with the coffee community in that depth. So we were visiting, and we were asked by the community members to host some workshops. So, community development workshops and things that we were already trained to do from our university background. So we were doing that. And my Spanish back then was like not very great. So obviously like I was memorizing all the scripts to be able to be out there with the community members. And we were mostly, interacting with women's association. And they were telling us about their day-to-day life. Because they were coffee farmers, they were just telling us, hey, this is what my schedule looks like, and this is what I'm getting paid for my hard work. And quick math at the time didn't add up for me. So they were telling us how they were getting paid $3 per kilogram of coffee cherries that they submit. And, that was a fair trade cooperative. And I, as a consumer, like a naive consumer, thought that, I am paying $3 per cup of coffee in the States, and the easy math didn't add up in my head. So then we started getting like really curious about what's up with the coffee industry. And that was me and Abhinav during the same trip. And we started like asking ourselves and asking the community that we're visiting, like what's actually happening and why are we not aware of all this injustice as consumers? Like I thought I was educating myself. I thought I was actively making the conscious choice by buying fair traded, certified coffee. And why is none of that being translated to the people who's actually harvesting it and who's growing the thing, the coffee for the year. So that was that little bit of light that I think ignited between all of us. And obviously we were only third year in college. So we went back to university, improved our Spanish. We were actually doing a study abroad in Spain the next semester. So we're in Spain, and then we went back to the States, and then started asking ourselves the questions like, what did we see? What did we see in Costa Rica? Is that a global phenomenon? Is it something that we've only seen in Costa Rica, or is it something that's across the board?
Yeah.
Obviously, like now we know. But back then I was like, no, this could be an interesting question that we could investigate. And little did I know that I'll be deep inside that, rabbit hole of coffee. Got very interested in like all things that came with coffee, started brewing my own coffee and learned about specialty. And and I've stayed in coffee ever since.
It's how it happens. It's like you have like one cup, or you meet one coffee producer, and like that's it, you're gone. Like it's 10 years later and you're somewhere across the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I forgot to do one thing. This is just me because sometimes it's like a little bit early morning for me, so sometimes I forget to do things. Just putting the comments so just people know to ask questions through the little question box. So we'll take questions a little bit later on. And for you, I've got so many questions about the Costa Rica project, because it is so, to be honest, it's so unique. You're not going just from someone helping producers, but you're helping women producers, and helping other women and other producers, and then you're also kind of going from a feminist perspective. How would you I guess in a way, how would you frame how you help in a feminist way? Because you say you also educate as well.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the question that we asked when we were looking at the coffee industry as a whole, and we were with a very particular group of people, right? Like coffee for producers, smallholder coffee farmers, but they were women, women, and they've told us a few challenges, and that I think upon studying seemed like that was a very particular challenges that women were facing due to cultural, gender-based discriminations that was quite prevalent and quite sometimes not even spoken about. So one thing that we quickly realized was that there was a huge information gap between the consuming world and the producing world, right? It wasn't very easy for producers to, first of all, find out what the going rate is for their coffee. They're always kind of scared to even say this is a price that I want, because they're afraid that that's going to scare the clients away, and they're always kind of in the low of okay, I have to accept what the clients want and all that. So there was an information gap about the market. But there was also another information gap where women were not necessarily attending any of the workshops that were put out by the government or by cooperatives or local community organizations, because they felt like it wasn't their space. And that was quite shocking, because one thing that we've initially, was trying to bridge was just the information gap. So we were trying to tell, share the information, purely just creating a website and saying, this is what's happening in the market, and maybe you can make your own choice. But what our producer partner and our friends have told us is that, I am not able to produce the quality that the market is desiring, because I just don't know where to start. And was shocking because if you know Costa Rica, like, it's a lot more developed than other Central American countries, like neighboring countries. And there are a lot more resources per se out there that's out there to kind of provide educational materials for producers, any producers. But if you actually dig deeper, I've actually done my master's thesis here on this topic. But if you
Wow,
dig deeper,
congratulations.
uh, ask the person what's the gender dynamic. For years, like over a decade or more, only about 20% of the total participants in the our workshop or any educational opportunities have been women. And people, like, I can't blame them because they, like, the organizers are like, we have it open for everyone and anyone can come, but they're not going a step further to understand why are women not attending despite the fact that so many women are involved, maybe not legally, because they have just one legal representative for their farm, and oftentimes the man of the house, and all that. But even if they're not legally representing their own farm, they are as involved in coffee farming and processing, right? But why are they not taking part in these workshops and opportunities? And we started with the question, and we asked all of our producer partner, and like people before even starting, just like went and stayed with their families and just kept asking questions like, why are you not going to these workshops? It seems like it's happening once in every 3 months or so. Have you ever attended it? And they said like, no, first of all, like, I don't feel comfortable because I'm gonna be the only woman. Second, like, I don't have much education. I don't feel comfortable asking questions because I don't want to sound dumb, or because they felt like the average rate of education, a level of education, between women and men is quite drastic, right? A lot of the women that we work with, their highest education level is 6th grader, whereas a lot of men have gone, all the way to like high school, sometimes university as well. So there was that gap that needed to be first bridged for women to feel confident to be able to go and attend workshops. So what we started doing is started creating safe learning environment where women, they invite one another and they come together to this group. And it's safe learning environment where men are welcome to come, but they have to come only when the entire group agrees that they can come.
Oh,
So
wow.
we make sure that the decision is actually made by the community. So the largest group that we have is about 25 women, and the smallest has also been like 4 women. So as long as there are like more than 5 women on average, we create that learning space, and we invite guest lecturer to come and provide training on whatever topics that they are struggling with. Yeah, so that's
So
basic.
with these these workshops and topics, would they focus on everything to do with the coffee farming, like such as or like coffee processing, or is it a mix of things?
Right. So it's everything to do with running a successful coffee business. So we start with gender, community, and finance workshop for producers to first of all understand that it's a business, not something that you just do because it's custom, right? So that's something that we've been reinforcing a lot with our communities, is because we've realized over the past few years that a lot of producers are not maintaining cost of production, and that's dangerous because you can easily fall into the vicious cycle of like making loss and getting into coffee debt and all that. So we start with that finance workshop where we try to help them separate their household budget and then farm budget, and then we do the budgeting and planning and the whole things around EVA VAT, which is a new thing that's recently been introduced in Costa Rica. So everybody's like, VAT was not a thing until like last year. So everybody is in panic moment. Yeah, and like
Oh my
recently there's
God.
been coffee was 0% and now it's 1%. So like every time there's like a new information, then we're like updating everyone on that financial information. And we do community workshops. So a lot of them might not have, a lot of them actually don't have experience working in groups. And we think that it's important that they work in groups so that they're able to build peer support system, even if we don't exist. God forbid, but if we become like irrelevant, like our goal is to actually not exist anymore. But then we want the groups to be strong regardless of our presence in the community or not. So that's
Yeah.
the big part of what we do initially. Then we go into production, processing, and quality analysis and roasting. So that's more focused on how to produce coffee, but in a more way and more profitable way, and processing, make sure that they understand the basics of processing, and then being able to run that, consistently, and have a consistent result over the years. And then quality analysis and roasting is only like a smaller part, but the goal is for them to be able to learn the language that buyers use to buy up their coffee, and be able have a greater negotiation power, because if you don't understand what 80 plus mean, like you're never going to be able to say my coffee is actually 80 plus, or what point. So we do the basics of cupping and then roasting, because a lot of the times producers also want to diversify their income by roasting domestically, so we provide them with basic support there. But yeah, like the past few years, though, our main focus has been around finance and production and processing mostly. But we make sure that all of the curriculum gets covered. Yeah.
It's actually, it's quite funny because you said something earlier on which was about going back and like even making these farmers some coffee. And it's so funny because like our industry at the moment is so focused on traceability that it's getting to the point where people are actually putting the farmer's name on the bag.
Right.
Yet
Right.
it's not going the other way.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something that we are really trying hard to like challenge as well, because you see that transparency is such a, like right now it's a given thing in the specialty coffee scene, right? Like everybody wants to know how much farmers get paid, and as a buyer, like you get all the information of like how much a lot of the times if you are buying direct, as direct as possible, then you are able to get information about how much farmers got paid from the total FOB price and how much exporter, etc., and then you get to know even the names of the dog on the farm, and you get like every bit of the information. But a lot of the time if you ask producers where their coffee went, they're going to be like, well, I've been told that it went to Germany, or I've been told that it went to South Korea or the States, but they don't necessarily know who bought up their coffee, and that makes it difficult for them to retain that relationship and maintain it. So that's something that we've been challenging by. We make sure that the communication is like both ways. Producers also get to know how much everyone got paid. We have this like simple Excel sheet that we share with our clients and also with our producers. They're able to know how much money went where. And I guess like the cut for Bean Voyage comes only through producers, so they know how much we get paid for the work that we do as well. So they are really aware of every single bubble, or part along the chain.
It's like, because I even like before starting I had so many questions just because I guess at this time you're seeing a side of coffee that like a lot of people aren't as well, but you're also going in and teaching women farmers. And for you, what's been like the most surprising result of it, or like surprising fact you learned?
Yeah, I think what's been most rewarding, or in a way that surprising, because we weren't expecting that to be an outcome of our work, was that producers, what we do when we start our producers group is a WhatsApp group with all of them. So that's a virtual space that we create for all of them to get to know each other and maintain that communication outside our regular workshops. And what we've been realizing is that pre-COVID, when there were other workshops being held elsewhere, we've seen people, proactively out saying, there's this opportunity. I don't want to go alone because I know I'm going to be the only woman in there. Does anybody want to go? And like, 5 people like gather together and they go together. And I think that's like a big positive change that we were like, okay, this is really exciting. Like we never thought that would be an outcome of the work that we just, the only thing we did is like creating this WhatsApp group and making sure that everybody gets to know each other. We do obviously a lot of games for them to feel comfortable and all that, but we didn't really expect that. So that's been surprising. And like we've also seen like one of them, volunteering to host organic fertilizer, like making workshop, because she's just been allergic to chemicals since like, years ago. And so she's developed this recipe, with things that she can find on her farm. And she just like out of, without us telling her or without anyone telling her, said like, I'm going to host this like, workshop, like, lunch, have lunch at my place and come learn how to make this amazing insecticides with chilies, and like, people just like and it's really like, something that we weren't expecting, but like amazing, so those things are, I think, what's been the most rewarding, because other things like, we're always carefully planning our workshops, making sure all of our facilitators have been vetted through, and it's like a careful process. But these are the things that we just don't have any control over, and we don't want to, and we just organically, it grew out of the bond that they had as a group, I think. Yeah. So.
Amazing. And I guess I think there's a question of like how there's videos all online of like, oh, how's everyone dealing with like lockdown and stuff? How are the producers in Costa Rica? Are even affected by lockdown, or are they feeling it?
Uh, yeah. So I think initially, I guess like the more than lockdown, I think COVID-19 was like a big, big stuff for all of our producers, because I think the immediate impact on them was that there was a huge cancellation on the contract, right? But they, quite a few producers reached out and told us that 80% of their regular contracts have been canceled, and they are like literally sitting in their warehouse. And because we don't recommend our producers to sell all of their coffee to us, and we are a small organization when it comes to exporting, right? Like most of our work is around education, and what we do is connect them to buyers, but we also don't recommend them selling to one big buyer, even if it's us. Like we want them to be putting their eggs in different baskets. But a lot of them reached out and said, okay, like 80% of my sales got canceled, can you help? So then we had to quickly start like a roasted coffee sales campaign in Costa Rica. So we started like selling to organizations, including embassy and big, corporate partners that we worked with in the past. We just like reached out and say like, would you be willing to buy 100 bags of coffee, just to show support? And quite a few people did. So like we've been like pushing roasted coffee sales out, but that's been something that our producers have like, told us. And I think the other bigger thing that we are seeing now, and we're kind of being worried, we are becoming more and more worried about now that the coming harvest is like harvest is approaching for the next year, is that in Costa Rica particularly, we rely a lot on migrant workers to pick coffee cherries. They come from Nicaragua and Panama. And because of the lockdown and like the closure of border, we are expecting a huge shortage in labor. And we are expecting that the impact will be a lot harsher on smallholder coffee producers, because they're going to be having a bit more hard time recruiting people than bigger farms. Because I guess like bigger farms can put out a lot more money out there or campaign out there to recruit larger number of people at once.
Yeah.
But smallholder producers, we're expecting that it's going to be quite challenging. So we've been talking to eCafe, and we are right now co-planning a project together with eCafe, which is an Institute of Coffee, a national entity in Costa Rica, to organize a volunteering program for university students, high school students, or anyone in Costa Rica to go and volunteer during the harvest season, making it kind of like a fun experience. Like go live on a coffee farm, so it becomes like an attractive thing for Costa Ricans to also participate. But I think that's the big worry on a lot of our producers' mind. But organization-wise, we had to pause all of our in-person training earlier this year. We had some time-sensitive materials that we were going to host in-person trainings for, and we had to cancel all of them for obvious reasons of like health and safety of everyone. And we recently transitioned to a virtual workshop, which we facilitate over WhatsApp. So yeah, that's been fun. Really challenging, but at the same time, like really rewarding. I think all of our producers have been also expressing that they're enjoying it a lot. But with lockdowns in Costa Rica, it's on and off. So depending on your regions, you're allowed during a certain time. So if you're in San Jose Central, like the city, then that's considered more dangerous area. So you have a bit more strict regulations around moving in and out of your place. But if you're outside that orange zone, it's a little bit more relaxed, I guess. And a lot of our producers are thankfully outside that area, because it's like less populated, all that. But yeah, I think it probably is quite similar with everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've adapted Bean Voyage like pretty well to, well,
Mm.
as well as anyone can hope kind of thing. It's like thing of like everyone's like, oh, it's been a learning experience. It's the nicest way of like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's worked really well now, kind of thing. And it sounds like even like the WhatsApp group sounds like excellent, because I think that's even now that even now how people in like developed countries, or like kind of, or this side of the the coffee um map. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm losing words as I'm saying them. That's how everyone's getting connected now, and everyone's gone like to a
Hmm.
virtual thing. Have
Hmm.
you kind of think, have you seen like kind of any drawbacks to the virtual connection between
Yeah, I
farmer and
think,
producer and stuff? Or
right. I think this is obviously the best that we could do to reduce that gap that exists, right? We've tried like Zoom, Teams, all the other softwares in the past, and we realized nothing was gonna work but WhatsApp. So I think we have been grateful that training through WhatsApp has been quite successful, like a lot more successful than we think it was going to be. But at the same time, there's still obviously some challenges that we are trying to overcome. There are still groups that could participate in our workshops if it was held in person, but they choose not to, or are not as comfortable being online because they're either not able to read or afraid of technology to begin with. I think that is quite related to the age group that we are working with. So quite a bit of our producers in our producer network are in their 50s or 60s. And there are some individuals that are in mid 60s that early on had to drop out because they were like, okay, I can communicate over WhatsApp, but I don't feel as comfortable, because it's still quite fast paced when we are on
mm,
WhatsApp conversation, and it's a regular chat where we are hosting workshops with audios and text, and they were overwhelmed. So there were a couple of dropouts early on because of it, and I that's something that those are participants that we know in person, and they were like one of the best students when we held in-person training. So it's quite sad, but at the same time, I think for us, this is the best we could do, ensuring that everybody's staying safe and healthy, and that as many people are getting the necessary information as possible during this time. So yeah, but moving, I think once things become a little bit better, hopefully with COVID, we
mm,
will be holding semi-virtual session where parts of it will be actually held in person to bridge the gap. And we're also trying to incorporate pictograms and other graphic elements to make it a bit more approachable and accessible than what we've accomplished so far.
yeah,
Yeah.
wow, it's amazing. Uh,
Very
and
fun.
yeah, no, I think it's great. Like it's just like I feel like lockdown and kind of the quarantine stuff is really, at this moment, it's really been pushing people to find new creative ways to do things. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously that's what Bean Voyage has done now. You've had to like kind of take a situation and you've molded it, I guess, in a way to work for you, and it seems to be successful, which is really good. And for you now, like I get like you're the CEO and co-founder, so you probably know the business the best, like the nonprofit the best as anyone. Where do you kind of see it going in the next few years? What would be your goal for the next few
Mm.
years?
So we've been actually doing a lot of the strategic thinking because everything that we planned out, pre-COVID, because we've done the strategic planning for 2020 all the way to 2023 last year. And obviously everything that we've done
Mhm.
not relevant anymore. And so we are quite in the process right now again to reevaluate our goals and our, I think, immediate goal is to be able to scale the WhatsApp training for as many people as possible in Central America. For the next 3 years, we are envisioning big dreams to be in 3 other countries. Don't know how that's right now going to happen, but we are identifying strategic partners in different regions to be able to license our curriculum and our methodology, so that this something that we've learned becomes something that people can also benefit from. So a lot more people than who's in our network. So that's how we see it growing. And the dream is to be able to like also support all of our producers have their coffee sold to some parts of the world. The barrier to, I think, entry for specialty coffee especially has been quite hard for smallholder producers for the quantity that they're producing or the quality that they are producing right now. So our hope is to be able to have them have more long-lasting relationship, whether that's specialty coffee buyers or any other buyers locally, making sure that we become actually irrelevant in this regard. And then that would be the ultimate goal, that we become irrelevant, and we can do by then I'll just continue writing because I love writing.
I just love that. Just like take that small sentence is like, we'll do that as the headline. We hope to become irrelevant. Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah.
Right, like whatever we are fighting for becomes a norm, and that we don't have to exist. And I love to explore my writing career more, and I think I would really love it as well. So that's our goal, to expedite that process of like becoming irrelevant as fast as possible. Yeah.
I don't know, it's just such a great sentence. And for you, because I guess even on that note, you're coming in and you're bringing like some sort of ideas to kind of change the culture and the attitude and stuff as well, like even like getting the women producers into a room to learn. Have you had any pushback, any like resistance to it at all, to anything that you're bringing in?
Yeah, initially I think so. The idea of the work, like the whole concept of the work, has not necessarily been something that we brought in. It was based on the conversation, series of conversations that we've had with women producers in different communities, mostly in like San Marcos, Tarazu. We've met like our initial group of producers there, and they've informed us of like, okay, this is what we need, this is what we want to learn, this is how we think you should do. So what we did is, based on their suggestions, kind of draft a proposal and reached out to like funders to say, would you be interested in funding this ideas? So that's how we started. So we didn't have as much pushback from the group of people that we're working with and group of people that we're interested in working with. To be like, right now we are in the phase of like scaling up, and we're recruiting 400 producers,
Wow.
again, to the program. And we've launched the application a couple of weeks ago, and we've already received over 150 applicants. So there's a lot of interest from the producer, coffee producers, especially who are self-identifying women. But the pushback came from cooperatives, not particular, I'm not going to name anyone, but the board of directors, who were insisting that this was discrimination against men, that our workshop should be open for everyone, and should be for men as well. And we had to fight a lot to make sure that this wasn't discrimination against men. Like I never thought that would be something that we had to have conversation about. We thought that obviously everybody will be on the same page. So that was quite shocking, and that's also the reason why we've incorporated the gender workshop that I was mentioning earlier. So we do invite anyone in the community to come and learn about the stories behind why we are doing what we are doing. So they're also on the same page, and we do plan like conflict resolution workshop, where it's a circles training where they get to understand the perspective of the women coffee producers in their communities, and then seeing where they were blindsided, like why were they thinking this could have been a discrimination against them, but it's actually not. So just bringing everybody together. And then that way we are also having like, quote unquote, their support. Obviously we don't need their support.
Yeah.
But then, like, I think we are also minimizing any frictions that could happen in the community through those workshops. And then the graduation is open for everyone to attend, and we celebrate the successful completion of the women, who often it's their first time ever being recognized for their work. So we highlight, like, I mean, emphasize that they bring their partners, sons, or anyone in their family. So we make sure that, you know, the women participants get the due recognition that they deserve. But yeah, definitely that's something that we are always careful about when we're entering a new community. We spend as much time possible to talk to everyone in the community, because I think the last thing we want to do is create, you know, conflict, just because we think some parts of the communities reached out to us. You know, that's not like unfortunately, that's not like a good sign for us to just start working right away. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's, yeah, it was just like a curiosity thing of,
Mm.
I guess, of like people don't want to, people like, oh, I like how it is now and don't want to change. I guess it's power dynamics and such as
Yeah.
well. And for you, have you like, that's something quite, like, so now it's been, how many years has Bean Voyage been around? Since 2014, did you say?
So 2014 was our trip, and then we
Yeah.
co-founded our organization in 2016. Yeah.
And now you've graduated quite a lot of people from the program and
Mm.
educated quite a lot of people. Have any of them come back and spoken with you since, or like kind of started projects or anything with you, or started projects among themselves?
Right. So quite a lot of people actually stay in touch with us, because they also know that our curriculum is evolving. So they actually sign up for follow-up classes, or they get their kids involved. So we have this program called Care Facilitators, where we are recruiting youth from coffee farming communities for paid position, and they get trained to be facilitators. So it's a way for, that was also, you know, a result of a conversation that we had with a few producers who said their biggest worry is that nobody from their, you know, family wants to continue farming. There's a huge crisis of kids and youth wanting to move out to cities, you know, looking for opportunities, but they end up not really finding meaningful opportunities and stay in cities, but not connected to their family. So we're brainstorming some ideas with them, and we thought maybe we could incorporate them in the process, and that could be Care Facilitator. And we've been training a lot of, actually, like this year, we've recruited 10 Care Facilitators, and I'll say 3 of them at least are children of like participants that were directly part of our program in the past, and the others are like friends or neighbors. So it's like word of mouth.
They got brought along for it.
Yeah, so like we are always in touch. And Erica Mora, for instance, is the first producers that we recruited, and we still are, you know, on a, I'll say like weekly basis, like I'm chatting with her, whether it's about personal stuff or, you know, work related stuff. And we've also seen a lot of producers taking on like new exciting projects, but then not maybe directly about coffee, but it's something to do with coffee. So like Doña Leida from Fraile started this like baking, you know, coffee cookie kind of like small shop. And that was out of a conversation that we had during our finance workshop, where we said, you know, you don't have to only look at coffee as the only means, and maybe there are other things that you could do. And we knew that she really baked great cookies. So we used to like pick for her to bring her like cookies for the workshops to share. So like we will like do that. And she got encouraged because everyone that participated loved her cookies. So she actually started her company called Se Cafe, and she makes the best cookies. So like that's an example of like, you know, a lot of producers have taken on ideas that might have just occurred during a workshop, maybe not something that we've done direct training on, but it was a conversation, and they just like took it and started something new alongside. So it's really exciting to
So
always
good. So I've got like all these other things because you all these other things to ask you. So you said you're the Specialty Coffee Association lead scholar.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? For anyone who doesn't know what that means.
Right. So lead stands for, let me try this. Like I always leadership, equity. I forget what A was.
I think it's just and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and diversity. Yeah, and I was like, what's A? I always get lost there. And diversity. So it's a scholarship program that SCA started a couple of years ago. I think the first one was in 2018, and we are the second cohort. And I've seen like Amara here. She's also another list scholar. So what we get as scholars, so there we are 5 people per cohort, and they select us for 2 years scholarship term, and sponsor us to learn, explore, and be leaders of the coffee industry, in whatever field that we choose. So what they've done for us is provide us with funding opportunities to get trained as an AST, in one field that SCA has educational field in. So I've chosen green coffee track. And until I guess like pre-COVID, I was paid to travel to a city where there was an AST, green coffee workshop. I was actually in Seattle to learn that, like, deepen my knowledge. But now everything is on hold.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, yeah, we get like platforms to speak about our work during Pico or SCA Expo. We also get connected to leaders in the coffee industry. So it's kind of like an accelerator program for anyone in coffee to, yeah, like accelerate their career
Yeah.
in coffee.
So I
Yeah.
guess because you all like the people who now are part of this, like you can't all meet in person. Now it's I guess it's another WhatsApp family
Yeah.
in a way. And
Yep.
yeah, and are you like I guess are you all like kind of engaging with each other as the weeks go by?
Yeah. So the 5 of us, we have a WhatsApp group with the SCA team and also just like us 5. And we try to keep in touch with each of us and trying to see how everybody's doing. But in general, I think I just feel like I've gained like 4 new friends in coffee, over this like opportunity. And we in October last year, we were in North Carolina together for a retreat at S&D's plant. So that they are the financial supporter for this program. So that was like the first time that we met all of the team in person, and yeah, like we quickly bonded, and we've been like keeping in touch ever since.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. He's like, I've got all these questions for you. Just like, oh, it's no way. We've got
Yay!
loads to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's see. God, I've written so much here. So you said that you've got all these kind of scholarships and fellowships. Um, have they been for Bean Voyage as well, or has it been for other work you've been doing?
So I think parts of it has been for Bean Voyage and another part for my master's stuff. So I guess it's also related to Bean Voyage because I did my master's focusing on gender and development and public policy area, and did my thesis on coffee cooperatives' role in promoting gender equity in coffee communities. So I did something along the line that kind of informed me in my work. So I guess like everything is around Bean Voyage and like my path towards it. Yeah. So not all of them have been financial. A lot of it has been actually just networking opportunities with other nonprofit organizations, leaders, or any social entrepreneurs as well. So yeah, it's not necessarily always been like financial the way I think SCA Lit Scholarship has been more for. But yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to remind people if you have questions, the little question box at the bottom, you can add them in there because we've got about like 10, 12 minutes left. Yeah,
Bye.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is always what happens. Like, I think during like the Instagram lives, we
Mm-hmm.
hit a point and we're like, oh, wait, it's like, how did we get here already?
Right.
Because I'm actually spotting some people who have also previously been on chats with me here, so
Oh,
they know that feeling.
yeah.
We always ask what people are drinking. Are you drinking coffee at the moment?
Yeah, actually I am. I am drinking the Colombian Typica Red Honey by one of my favorite roasters in Korea called Cafe Ethan. Yeah.
Say Ethan,
So
that's so nice.
yeah, it's his name actually.
Are you like you're in Seoul or are you just outside Korea
Yeah, I
in
was
another
in
area?
yesterday, and I just came back to my parents in Masan. It's a southern city, because it's my dad's birthday week. And I was,
Oh,
looking.
birthday to your dad.
Yeah. So I've been looking for a flight to come here because it's usually like 5 hours bus ride or 3 hours train and 1 hour flight. And I've been told, and I've kind of seen how cheap the flight has been recently. So I was like looking up some flights, and it was like $4 to fly, and then like $4 additional for like airport usage. And I was like, $8 to fly? Yeah, I'm coming. And because I guess I
Yeah.
go Tuesday morning. So the perks of like living and working whenever I actually can, like whenever I have my laptop, I can work. So I was working in the airport a little bit, and then flew, and then came home in like an hour. So I was actually planning to come back on Friday, but I just came because it was really cheap. And there was no reason
It's
for me
like,
to
is
visit.
South Korea still in like a hard lockdown? Like, because
We
Germany, yeah,
Yeah, you were
Germany's
saying.
like kind of like we're it's masks but they've like opened schools and then closed schools again. So,
So we were never in like hard lockdown, until recently, and now it's like obviously like we are not recommended to go out because we are on like alert level 2, where more than like spaces that can have more than 30 to 50 people has to kind of like close. Schools kind of gone again virtual, and they've already been like dividing classes into like 2 groups, so like not everybody goes to school on the same day, and
oh
it's
wow,
really strange and like difficult situation. Like my cousin's complaining like I can't see my best friend because she's in group 2 and I'm in group 1, and we like alternate going to school. And yeah, I think it's been like a bit challenging for a lot of kids. But yeah, shops are open, restaurants are open, but I haven't really gone out like ever since I came back as well. And in Seoul as well, I was like staying mostly indoor. um
that group 1, group 2 thing sounds like something that's going to be like in 20 years. They're going to be like, so what group are you in?
I know, right?
And so, like, I guess you haven't been able, you probably have avoided coffee shops and stuff in Seoul then as well.
I've been avoiding. I've only gone like briefly to meet a friend, but then we'll be like wearing a mask. Mostly we will try or go to a coffee shop that we know will be actually taking care of the visitor. So like they will have the QR code to track
Yeah.
everyone that's coming in, and they make sure like we only go to places where we know that they're disinfecting all the places here and there. And yeah, so I've only been going to, I'll say, 3 coffee shops in total, like ever since I came back to Korea for the past few months. Like I've been only going back and forth between the same places, minimizing, the exposure, and also like making sure that I'm not moving things from one place to the other.
Yeah.
There, it's hard.
It's very confusing. I think everyone might be like, we're, I don't have any questions because I think to be honest, I think we answered a lot of stuff during
Mm,
this. I asked you a lot of questions. But do
yeah.
you have any like questions for anyone like kind of for me or for anyone who's like watching, or like kind of something, anything kind of parting notes or something?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
something that. But what are you drinking? Are you drinking coffee?
Yeah,
What's that?
I have an anaerobic Panama coffee from Lolages. It's from a roaster from Hungary, I think. I picked it up yesterday because I did a little writing for a friend and they gave me some coffee in exchange. Because
Oh,
obviously at the moment, like we're in Germany, it's um everyone's been on. It's called Kurzarbeitgeld, so they they've put everyone on like paid leave in a way. So what's
mm,
happened is that like everyone's kind of very low on money and they can't bring anyone back until they have enough money. So it's kind of a confusing time at the moment. So I'm
right,
drinking that. A lot of
right,
cold filter coffee.
right.
Um, it's been a lot. I guess like we can use this into like what's your favorite type of coffee to drink?
Yeah, I think Louis just asked iced Americano or hot, and he knows Korean.
Yeah.
Iced Americano. Yeah, 100 times. Like even during, the coldest winter time, I would always go for iced Americano. And I think it's I a lot of the times can't identify myself as like, fully Korean, but I think this is the moment where I'm like, okay, like I am Korean. um, yeah, I love my iced coffee. Hmm.
Nice. And like a question for you, when do you hope to, are you hoping to get back to Costa Rica soon?
Yeah, we've been looking at flights. I've been talking about October. So initially, I came back to Korea in March, and I was thinking, okay, by April, May, I'll be back. I literally just packed the smallest suitcase that I had, and my room in Costa Rica is like still the way it is, that I left, the way I left it in March, and but like I pushed it to June, and then now July, and then now to October. Our hope is to be like my hope personally is to be back by October because one of my teammate Adriana is pregnant and she is expecting a really yeah, exciting news. But yeah, she's expecting a baby girl to arrive November, and I want to be there to celebrate it with her. So both me and Abby have been looking at flights for October, but we also want to make sure that the conditions are safe for all of us, and like we don't want like stress for our international journey and stuff. So
Yeah.
realistically, I think from my side especially, because I'll have to stop over either in Europe or in the States, I think it would only be kind of safe for me in like December, hopefully. um, but Abby is already planning for his return in October. So if everything goes well, he will first go back in October, and I'll be joining in December, hopefully, before the
Nice.
harvest.
Well,
Yeah.
I really hope that both of you are able to get back safely.
I know.
Um, and like, I guess, how would you, I hope that you don't have to travel through the States or anything, because I think that's at the moment is very difficult.
Yeah, that was really challenging because I took a flight through the States when I was coming here late March, and that was like it was like a survivor game. Like I'll get off. I like it took me like 50 something hours to arrive to Korea, and yeah, every time, and I had like 4 layovers because all the flights are canceled, so it like was rerouted to like multiple airports to sure that I can get on a flight. And every time I get off, the first thing I'll have to do is like run to the screen and making sure that my next flight isn't canceled.
Mm.
And I'm very lucky because everything else was canceled, but like the flight that I was coming on wasn't canceled, thankfully, in the process. So yeah, that was really stressful and scary. So I don't want to repeat that, like relive that experience again. Like
I don't want
never.
you to relive that experience again. I don't think anyone wants you to relive that experience again.
Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll wait until it becomes a little bit more stable. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for doing the live with me. It was really enjoyable. I'm sure you've got like loads of meetings now with like it's so exciting that you have all these like your phone is blowing up from all the messages from WhatsApp from your producers at the moment.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you for doing this with me, and I want to thank everyone for watching as well. We're also going to be putting this on up on our IGTV, so like if people want to rewatch it later on. And then we're also been putting them up on YouTube, so it's been really good. I think you've so I'm gonna wish you a good day.
Thank you.
And thank you again.
Thank you so much. It was really fun chatting with you and for inviting and looking forward to maybe not rewatching because I can't really watch myself
Yeah.
talk.
Oh, don't worry. I don't know how people rewatch themselves talk. I think it's terrifying.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah. I
I
hope you
think
have a
it's
great
like,
day.
yeah, thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye.